traders, Manny Cabrera here, co-founder of MDC Trading Academy, with today's pre-market forecast for Wednesday, August the 5th. News items on the docket. We just had the ADP non-farm unemployment change. Very disappointing to the market, but the market really it's not losing too much momentum. We were expecting at least 1.2 million was the forecast. We only ended up at 167. Has a little bit to do, obviously, slowdown in manufacturing, and also the fact that we had our second wave of closing. This is particular an issue in restaurant employment. So that's what we see here. We also have, remember, ISM at 10 in the morning and crude inventories at 10:30. So keep your eyes open for that. The rest of the week, obviously, we have unemployment claims coming up, and on Friday, biggie, 10:30. Our unemployment rate, and so on and so forth. So keep your eyes open for these very significant reports in reference to the way the market moves potentially during the hour of the announcement. Now, here, what do we see here? Exactly what we've been expecting and forecasting for the last several weeks. Markets continue making higher highs. We are in a bull market, guys, so don't lose track of that. Confirmation, break above the 200, support twice in the 200, continuation from there. So we launched our recovery from the drop that began back in February on March 23rd. Market continuing to test these highs along the way here, these pivots. Next stop is all-time high at 33.8650. We are currently at 33.13, so we're about 73 points away from the all-time high, which is an absolute miracle in spite of where we've been in the market recently and everything that's been going on. Now, remember, guys, I learned this from one of my mentors a long time ago. He says there's two rules to the market that you need to understand, particularly technical analysis market. Number one, the market is always right. Market is always right is rule number one. Rule number two, if you forget that the market is always right, please refer to rule number one. That's an absolute. Now, you can sit here and argue about the values of the stocks. You can argue about this and that and the other. That and some of those arguments may or may not hold water. But one thing that we cannot argue with is the fact that the resilience of the market to go up. Markets have very short memories. That's one thing that I've learned, very short memories. But they also have a way of keeping perspective. And I think if you look at the market prior to this pandemic, you could basically just remove this whole section here. And ultimately, once the market tests the all-time high and starts to continue or to retrace, it looks like one solid move. This whole thing here could have happened on the other side of the all-time high if it wasn't for the pandemic, because that's how strong the economy was. I was speaking to one of my colleagues the other day, a guy that works at MDC Trading Academy. He's also a day trader at our desk, and he had forecasted, by this time we're probably being somewhere near 4,000, and none of this have happened. That's how good well the economy was doing, and how well the markets is. So the markets do have short memories, but they have a really, really good concept of overall general movement. So what do we do today? Well, let's look at what's happening in the market today. In a general sense, again, this chart has been just an absolute blessing to me this time around. It's just kept the market in line at a longer term view. Market next test was this high here. Clearly found a little resistance here. You can see it kind of hesitated to continue from here, but nonetheless it did. It danced right between the areas. It attempted to go down, eventually it recovers, and there's our close to the upside. I did an extension from this pivot to this pivot to this pivot, and you can see we are at 100% extension. There's our 138, our 161 is up there, and obviously our 200 is up here somewhere, but there's the all-time highs. Just keep your eyes open for that. So everything is pointing up this morning. We can see it in another one of our charts, which is our analysis chart, which is closer to the time frame that we use, and you can clearly see market above, closed again above the intraday high. In the pre-market, we established, just at the close of the bell, we established our intraday high. Market kind of tested it. After so many tests, it's going to fail. It did fail, but it didn't fail for long. It just went and retested this pivot right here. And from that pivot, it launched. Here it goes to test again. Now we broke clearly through in the pre-market, and now we're using it as support. and we kind of hugged right along here, this trend line here. Eventually we broke through this trend line, and what we have right now, actually this trend line is, let me just correct this trend line is actually here. We see the clear break of the trend line. We see the clear break of the trend line to the downside. By the way, that was a good trade here to the downside. But here it is. Here it is. There's our run. There's our run. There's our top. There's our bottom. And right now we're consolidated between these two areas. Now, which direction is the market going to determine today? Well, remember, statistically, markets tend to break when they're consolidating in the direction originally posed. So this is the direction, up. We've been going up, 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 retracement, up, 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 retracement, consolidation. Basically, you can see the consolidation here. Same setup. Run. There's your top. Run. There's your top. There's your bottom. Broke through. Run. There's your top. There's your bottom. And now it's holding. And now look at this is the news reaction, and look how the market's recovering very quickly. You see that? So we're expecting the market to obviously make a continuation from this point forward. That's our first objective. That's our first idea of the day, our first hypothesis. Ultimately, if the market cannot continue, it's going to move lower and potentially test this former intraday high, which is resistance, this former area of resistance in this particular channel, use it as support. And if it can hold here, then we're expecting the swing to come all the way back. So keep your eyes open for this. Any break below here, you're looking for shorts. Watch in here in the consolidation, unless you start to see develop a substructure here. And of course, if we break through, then just buy the dips. Take care. Have a great session. Let me know if you have any questions.